Welcome back to the portfolio update videos. Currently, the stock portfolio is set at a combined value of over $52,524. This is made up of the 21,336 USD in my stake portfolio, which is now up 17.63% or $3,197, and my Vanguard portfolio, which is sitting at 20,703 AUD. Today I'm going to be going through just a bit of an update of how my stock portfolio has done since the last video, my goals, my recent purchase into Google, and just going through overall what my ideas are for the upcoming year. Currently, you can see that the positions are actually down recently. It might be a green day, but if you look over the last week in the market, it is actually down closer to 2%. And some of my major positions, such as Apple, my biggest individual holding, is actually down over 6% in just the last week alone. But more on that in a little bit. Overall, another thing that I'll go through that I touched on was my position of Google, which I just bought another 5 shares of, and is now sitting at $1,109 in equity. Going into my Vanguard portfolio, you can see I do have some pending distributions and dividends that will be coming up. I had a quick look, and last year I received my January dividends because we get quarterly dividends through my Vanguard portfolio, and the last one came on the 18th of January. And so that means I'll probably have another week or so, or 2 weeks before this actually hits my account, if there are any others as well. But pretty much, so $151 in dividends, or maybe there'll be some more, we'll see, for this last quarter, which the last dividend was $238. So this one's a little bit smaller, but again, all dividends are taken, and I'm happy with that because I'm just going to be reinvesting these funds. I'm more than likely going to be reinvesting it into VGS. I will be selling out of my VHY position. I've made the decision. It's just kind of been sitting there. It's a very small position for me. There's not really much point in it when you kind of weigh it up in terms of the overall impact of the position, whether it goes up or down. It doesn't really affect much. And I just wanted to kind of clean it up and put it between the two stocks. That is actually similar to my stake position. I need to make a decision on what I'm going to do with my Amazon stocks. It's only worth $61. It's really, like I said with the other one, it makes absolutely no difference in my portfolio. Like, just due to the size of it, I might just sell out of it in a month or so, or I'll see if the price goes up more, I'll sell out and just reallocate those funds, maybe towards just VOO and the overall S&P market. But yeah, Amazon's a bit of a weird one because I did sell out of it and I got it a bit smaller. And when you look at analyst ratings and stuff, I was looking around. Some people do say buy on it. Obviously, it's got an extremely high PE ratio, but people are kind of banking on the growth of Amazon. When you look at it in terms of its financials, it's a money printing machine. It's one of the one of the best companies in the world, and there's a reason why people invest in it. But even with how well it's done, you'd say financially, it's not reflected as much in terms of the stock price. Because I mean, you go in the last 3 years, and the stock's actually down nearly 9% over the last 3 years. So if you were to have invested back here in it, whilst everything else has gone up, because like you look at the likes of, let's say instead of putting that money into Amazon, you put it into Microsoft, and you go last 3 years, up 67%. So, and then you plus that 9% extra, that takes you to around 76% or so, 77% of a swing you would have had if you invested into a different big tech company. So I guess maybe that's a reason why people are a bit bullish on Amazon at the moment, because of the kind of its past results and the fact that it has bounced back. I mean, you look at the last year, it's up 68%, but it still hasn't reached those 2021 figures. I guess that was also quarantine and lockdown when people were obviously ordering a lot of parcels, doing everything like that. You're stuck at home. But yeah, this is a decision I need to make, whether it's something I invest in and kind of use it as kind of like a long-term outlook, or if I sell out and just reallocate those funds somewhere else. And speaking about positions in my portfolio, Apple, like I said, my largest individual holding, sitting at over $3,000 in equity, and I'm up basically 30% on it, has had a terrible week for investors, with the stock down 6.37%. Not good. I mean, I was kind of banking, like I've been doing some shorts on it, saying, is it going to crack that $200 a share mark? Which was kind of like the question. And it got really, really close, up to 198, you can see here. But recently it's just been on a downturn. And I did see a lot of people saying it was a bit overpriced at the moment. And I could see, like, I understood why people were saying that. Because when you look at it, especially when you compare it to other companies, whilst there is that stability and it is like a blue chip company that's not going anywhere anytime soon, there are questions around its innovation. I still think Apple's going to be fine. I mean, kind of looking at the analyst ratings, it's a bit of a mixed bag, especially when you compare it to the others, which are buys. But I've never gone wrong in terms of purchasing Apple. I've bought it when I thought it was high, when I thought it was low, and it's kind of just steadily gone up for me. Again, obviously you want to buy stocks when they're as cheap as you can get them. You want to buy things at a discount. It just means your percentages will be up. But if you kind of take a long-term approach, which I tried to do with this portfolio, is I'm trying to slowly, especially this year, take a bit of a step back in terms of the short-term outlook. I sometimes catch myself being a bit too short-term kind of focused, and then it leads to me making investments into stuff I maybe don't have as much conviction in. Like, for example, if you've seen this portfolio for a long time, I used to have a decent sized position in Meta, and I sold out at arguably the worst time, and it just, like, post here, kind of here, I just got rid of it just because I wanted to invest elsewhere. Again, other stocks I've invested in have had great years as well, but you look at the last year for Meta and it's up 170%. So I think with my Apple position, I'm just going to keep it as it is. In terms of buying in, I don't really have any extra funds to put aside into it at the moment. I've kind of, just in terms of my own personal budget, I've just been buying other stuff, and I've had like life stuff to buy, like planning for a trip and stuff. So I've been putting money there. So this kind of January is almost like a write-off. I mean, I'll try to put some money in the next pay cycle, but January I was kind of like, I'll just let things kind of sit and do what they do. But if stuff continues to go down, then I'd happily put some money in, or try to find some extra funds to put in, because just to kind of capitalize and make the most of it. In regards with the rest of the portfolio, Google was my most recent addition. I've spoken about it a few times now, and I did buy in. I bought basically $600 worth of Google. So that was, it was a smaller position in my portfolio. I'll go through the actual pie chart later of how big it is now, but you can see now it's well over $1,000. So this is kind of the size it used to be. The reason I bought into Google was kind of, again, you look at the last year, it's also up 55%. But like Amazon, it still hasn't hit those 2021 marks yet. Obviously, if you're buying in 2022, you've had a wonderful time. I tried to invest in 2022, but because there's only so much money you can put in. But now it still hasn't broken those heights. It trades at a lower P ratio than Apple and all the other, basically the FANG companies. And when you go, yeah, same thing. Analysts saying it's a good buy. Again, you take it with a grain of salt, whatever they say. But it's a company that I believe, like Apple, like other positions, Costco, I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon. So I figured I'd put a bit of money in there. I had money sitting aside. I had to make a decision on where I wanted to put it. At that time, Apple was like 190. Microsoft is still a bit high. Maybe I could have put some into Microsoft, but I've already been growing that a lot last year. And then my other positions, JP Morgan feels pretty high at the moment at 172, and I just didn't want to put it into VOO because I'll allocate some other money there later. But so I ended up putting it into Google. In regards with the Vanguard portfolio, nothing's changed. I still hold these main three that I touched on. I am growing my VGS position every single time now, so it's slowly, hopefully going to be catching up to VLC. And then I kind of want to split the portfolio 50-50. 50% into VLC, 50% into VGS. That way I have the international shares, and then I have the Australian shares. Again, I already have a bunch of Australian exposure in like your super and stuff like that, and then I have a bunch of US exposure here in my stake portfolio. So I think we're just going to split it halfway, and I'll be pretty happy with that. I'll get the larger dividends obviously from VLC, but hopefully a bit better growth from VGS. In regards with how the portfolios are looking at the moment, you can see that now Google does take a bit, or Alphabet takes up a bit of a bigger chunk. Here it is here. So now Alphabet takes up around 5% of the portfolio is what it says, which again doesn't seem very big, but it is a decent chunk. Now the changes in it actually do make somewhat of an effect in terms of how my portfolio does. So again, I wish I could have put a bit more money in 2022, start of 2022, like I did with my recent purchase into McDonald's. But this is just going to hopefully diversify a little bit. As you can see, because previously it used to be Apple and Microsoft were close to 20% each, and then there were just a bunch of small positions. So I just want to keep it diversified. I don't want to diversify too much into having a bunch of positions I don't have as much conviction in, but I think it will be hopefully do me well in the long term, and we'll see. I'll keep it updated. And then in regards to my Australian portfolio, obviously sell out of my small position. That should get my VGS position up to around 43%, and then just a few more deposits in there, and it should catch up to 50-50. And then obviously nothing's changed in returns with the tracking. I'll have to put the new figures as well on here, and I'll track them just next to it for 2024. But it's just done the same thing. It's just gone up. But obviously this month will probably be a slower month, and things will kind of just trade sideways because I won't be putting as much money in. But that was just a little bit of an update of how things are going with the portfolios, how they're looking. I'll obviously do more in-depth videos going forward, and once I decide where I want to put my money. But that was just a bit of a wrap up. Cheers.